Hello friends, thanks for joining me today. So I'm going to be reviewing a really charming book, and that is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This is technically the first in a series called the Regency Fairy Tales, but it can be read as a standalone. And the other two books that are out, based on their blurbs, have some recurring characters from this, but are their own separate stories. So this is a historical fantasy that takes place in Regency era England, which is around the early 1800s, and follows a woman named Theodora Eddings, who goes by Dora. And because of a bargain that her mother made when she was like not even born, half of her soul, of Dora's soul, was stolen by a fairy as a child, and as a result she can't feel emotions very strongly, and she lacks certain etiquette that you can find in, polite society. She often says and does things that aren't proper or socially acceptable, and it makes her kind of a social pariah. And she travels to London with her aunt and her cousin Vanessa, who she's very close with and cares about a lot, in order to help her find a husband. And she meets this magician named Elias Wilder, who is very prickly and rude and jaded, and he agrees to help her solve her missing soul situation. And the two of them are both, sort of black sheep, and a connection starts to grow between them despite Dora's apparent inability to feel love. And there's also a mystery going on surrounding these children in these workhouses that mysteriously fall ill, and they're also trying to figure that out as well. And I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. This just ticked a lot of boxes for me. I love Regency England as a setting, especially when it's also fantasy. Hint, hint, a darker shade of magic series. I love strong female characters who, don't fit the mold of that kind of society back then. I enjoyed the writing style, which was, very formal and proper British sounding, and the characters were very quippy and charming. I loved the fairy related portions. There really wasn't anything that I didn't like about this. I can see how some people might think that it's a bit slow. It teeters on slice of life almost, because there are these older women, Dora's aunt and a couple of her friends, basically trying to set up their children to get married, including Dora. So there are these social gatherings that they have to attend, and all these, protocols for courting that they're expected to follow. But all throughout that kind of slice of life-y sort of thing, there are some, underlying mysteries going on. Like that whole issue with the kids in the workhouses, and of course Dora's missing soul that they're trying to figure out how to kind of reunite and find the other half of. And it's really entertaining through all of that to watch Dora constantly throw a wrench in things, because she isn't interested in playing the games of the aristocracy, but she's kind of forced to anyway. Elias and Dora are great. I enjoy the enemies to lovers kind of romance, and they aren't really enemies, but Elias is just so rude and uncouth when you first meet him, and because Dora can't really get angry or emotional, she's just able to let his sass just roll off of her and just send it right back at him. So their banter is really entertaining. There's a bit of a fake dating situation going on as well with Dora and Elias, and a guy named Albert, who is the son of one of the meddling mothers trying to marry their kids off. But yeah, I like Elias and Dora a lot as a couple. And there are fairies in this book. They aren't present throughout the whole book, but in the second half you encounter some fairies, and they are probably my favorite flavor of fairy. They're, the trickster variety that make deals with humans where the humans get the bad end of the deal, they have this, off-kilter vibe about them. They're vain and deceptively pleasant, and also very dangerous. I just really enjoyed them. It's just perfect kind of fae and fairy for me, and it's been a long time since I've read it, so hopefully I'm not misremembering, but it brought to mind the fairies from Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which I love. 5-star book. That's one of my favorite books. There's also some social commentary about how the poor and less fortunate are treated in polite society, and spoiler, they're not treated well, and that isn't a revolutionary reveal, of course, but it looks a bit at how that truth affects the people who want to help but are faced with the reality that one person can't necessarily change the world or the system, and just kind of deals with how to process and deal with that. And there's a quote in this book that I like about kind of combating small evils where you can. And, I think that's very applicable to, modern life. This was also a very quick book. It's not very long. I think it's it's not even 300 pages. And I'm not sure if all editions of this book have this, but my edition, that 300 pages, it includes at the end a prequel novella about Elias and Albert and how they met, and it's called The Lord Sorcier, which it was short and sweet, and I enjoyed it, but it means, that it's even shorter than it looks, so it was an easy read. It was just really charming, and Dora is a great character. She's supposed to represent neurodivergent individuals, and you can see that in her lack of understanding of social etiquette, and she doesn't react the way a normal person would, but most characters are very accepting of her as she is, and overall, this book sends the message that it's okay to not be normal, and even so, you're still worthy and capable of love and relationships no matter what. And if you know that saying, the ones who mind don't matter, and the ones who matter don't mind, that's this book. I immediately went out and bought the other 2 books in the series after finishing this, which I'm excited to read, and this was just lovely. I was hoping that this would turn out to be at least a 4-star read. I had a good feeling that it would be, and I'm giving it 5 stars. I really liked it, really enjoyed it, and I haven't read this yet, so I can't personally confirm, but I've been told that this is similar in vibe and style to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. That's on my TBR. And it also reminds me of the Memoirs of Lady Trent series by Marie Brennan, one of my favorite series. That's right here. The first book is called A Natural History of Dragons, and it was the first book I ever reviewed on my channel in 2019. So I have a special place in my heart for just this style of book. And if you have any other recommendations of books that fit this historical fantasy vibe and setting, please let me know, because it's just like a favorite trope of mine right now. And here comes the portion of the video where I chat about just some random spoilers, so if you haven't read this and don't want to be spoiled, please click away, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. I don't have that many spoilery things to say about this one. I think the non-spoiler portion pretty much covers everything, but I liked this little detail where Elias talks about the humors when he's trying to diagnose what's wrong with the sleeping kids. I've heard the term before, and I knew that it was like somehow related to health or the body or something, but I googled it, and humorism was a Greek system of medicine related to body fluids that was eventually disproved when germ theory came about. But during the time period of this book, humorism would have still been around. So I liked how he was, testing out a theory with the humors, because that would have been a legitimate, medical test at the time. And I had a theory about halfway through the book that Dora would for some reason not be able to get the other half of her soul back. She goes through the process of, falling in love with Elias in spite of what she's lacking and him falling for her too. And I kind of figured that the moral of the story would be that she was fine just the way she was, that she wasn't, any less of a person or had any less value than anyone else just because she had half a soul. That was the moral of the story, and she does end up not joining up with Theodora, her other half, for a long time, but the very last paragraph of the epilogue implies that she does eventually join back together again, which is a happy ending. But I don't know, there was just a little niggling something about it that made my eyebrows furrow just a little bit. It's made clear that Dora is fine the way she is and that she isn't, broken necessarily, but she does become whole again off page, and I guess I wish I could have seen what Dora was like after that when she had her whole soul, because the whole book was driving toward that union of two halves, which doesn't happen on page, but happens at the end of the epilogue, just off page. I don't know. It was a little sad not being able to see what Dora was like after that, I guess. Again, it seemed to kind of go a little bit against the message that was put forth, that she was fine the way she was, but I understand that this is a fantasy story. Dora isn't naturally neurodivergent. She was magically made that way, so it does make sense that eventually her curse was broken and she was restored to the way that she originally was, so it's fine. It just caused a bit of confusion, the way her reuniting was just rolled up into literally the last paragraph of the book, and that was it. So yeah, just a couple little spoilery thoughts. I really enjoyed this, and my version also has this little bring this cover to life with Google Lens. So I had my fiance download Google Lens and try it out on the cover, and it's kind of cool. It animates, and the scissors kind of move, and it's kind of cool. I think all the other books in the series also have that, at least on my copy. I'm not sure if the hardcover and all other editions, I think this is a reprint, if they all have that, but it was kind of cool. I think it's super cute. This whole book was just super cute, loved it, and I can't wait to kind of read other adventures featuring kind of some side characters that show up in this book. I think one of them, one of the fairies that dances with Dora, briefly, is one of the characters in one of the books, and just things like that. So I really enjoy that sort of thing, how we're taking side characters and just kind of having them have their own adventure in this world. I love the language. I'm just really looking forward to it. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about the book. If you like this sort of, that style, that proper old time setting, but fantasy version. I really enjoy it. Yeah, and give me any suggestions that you might have of books that are similar to that. So I hope you have a great day, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!